We're going to take a look at what I think are the best 10 knives in my collection from the last decade. Since it's after New Year's now, we'll explain that, and stay tuned to the end to find out why it took me over a month to get this video up and ready. So guys, let's turn it around and look at these 10 awesome knives.
Guys, with New Year's just around the corner, I thought it would be cool to look at the 10 best knives of the last decade. I'm pretty sure they all are from the last decade. So let's go ahead and crack into it with, of course, my grail, my Grimone Norman. And I think you guys knew that this was going to be on. This is an incredible knife. The Grimone Norman has set the gold standard for a lot of people for a folding knife for a while now. And there's a good reason for it. The machining on it is incredible. The blade shape is unique, but still super functional. They are impeccably made. This is probably one of the best knives you will ever find on the market. There are never problems with these knives. They use a double stop pin configuration. So there's a closed and an open position. So you don't have to worry about lock rock and then doing a single stop pin where you would have to adjust the position on both. The feel in hand is incredible. The way they cut is great. They are done in a hollow that comes down to this forward, convex edge on the front. So you get all that cutting potential and that nice front. In hand, they are just brilliant. The jimping on them is just about perfect. They are a CNC machined knife. So they left the step pattern on that which I find incredibly attractive. The machining that's done on them is just amazing. And the fact is, as far as a functional, usable knife, a lot of people argue with me, but I'm going to tell you, this is one of the best knives you're going to have for almost any purpose. It's like having two knives in one. It's like having a chisel and a recurved cutter. They sharpen up great. They take a beautiful edge. They're nice and thin behind the edge, and their action is just above and beyond anything you would ever want to see. All the bells and whistles you get on these is just incredible. Even little hidden Easter eggs that are inside, like stuff that's milled inside where you typically wouldn't see it unless you take the knife apart. And they provide you all the stuff you need to take the knife apart. Like I said, this is a knife that I lusted after. I thought I wanted one, and then I got one in for sharpening, and then I knew I wanted one. So there you go. There's your first one, my grail, the Grimone Norman. Love it so much, I even just went to the trouble of re-anodizing it with the two-tone blue. This next knife is a knife that basically started this channel. This is the Ariat Horizon D, and this was the first like big time production. And I don't mean like you guys know that there are other knives like the Chavez that are considered production knives, but this is, I think, the best all around production knife I've ever had, period, hands down. This thing is incredible. This is the Horizon D in carbon fiber and titanium M390 blade. This thing is just gorgeous. It absolutely is incredibly comfortable in hand, easy to carry. The action on this from day one has just been amazing. I can't express how much I love this knife. I redid anodizing on this one as well. You can see I did kind of an interesting ano on it. The blade on this is just a beautiful drop point, big fuller on this. The action, like I said, just incredible. It has a multi-row bearing system. It's the first knife I ever had with a multi-row bearing system. You can reverse flick off the fuller. The M390 on this, I probably would have to say, is some of the best heat-treated M390 I've had, as it just Ariat gets it right almost every time. But just a beautiful, beautiful knife. This knife has probably had more pocket time than any of the other knives in my collection, and it's still one of my favorites. The only thing I ever had to do with this as far as functionality was I just opened this up ever so slightly to give it a little bit larger sharpening choil. This is just, like I said, just personifies what a really good production knife should be. And it still is a standout. Even today, one of my knives that people see and they're like, God, I wish I had one of these. They've re-released these. Look at the lines on this. It comes down into the fuller off the handles. Just absolutely beautiful. And like I said, in hand, one of the most truly functional knives you ever want to carry. So there you go. The Ariat Horizon D. This knife is a recent addition to my collection. This is my Chavez 229. Now, the thing about the 229 is I thought for years I wanted a 228. And I lusted after the Chavez 228, which was the mid-tech version of his Redemption. Wanted one until I saw one of these. This is absolutely the best version of this knife available, in my opinion. The 229 is the full-size version of the Redemption 228, but done in a full production instead of a mid-tech, and it's done so much thinner. This thing is absolutely a slicing beast. One of the most beautiful grinds you're ever going to see on a knife. Super striking knife here. You've got the beautiful skull clip that I love. It's done in a full titanium slab frame lock. Now, this didn't come like this. I did this, but this was a gift for my friend Tino. Full thumb stud action on this, but this is a big, beefy knife. Feels really good in hand. Just looks apocalyptic and mean. And the thing is, it's still super functional. This is one of my favorite carries. This spends so much time in my pocket. Action on this done by Ariat is just incredible. You can reverse flick off the thumb studs. This thing feels good, and it's just beautiful. In pocket, in hand, it's gonna get attention. People know this knife just by looking at it. Some people don't like the skull clip. I find it to be attractive. It's sometimes people think it's garish, but like I said, back down to the blade. One of the most perfect grinds is this grind that you've got on this. You've got the robust tip, the nice thin behind the edge flat back here, super, super sharp, done in a satin. As you can see, so you've got kind of a multi-directional satin. You've got satin going this way and this way on the swedge, and then coming up on the flat. The flat is just a still super superb cutter right there. Just an all-around gorgeous knife. One of my favorite knives to carry. It always gets attention. So let's go ahead and move on. Now, I know some people are going to laugh and some people are going to be like, I'm so tired of seeing this. This is the Exo Gravity knife by Ariat. Now, it's Exoskeleton Designs Exo Gravity knife. This is the best gravity knife on the market. It's the best gravity knife I've ever seen. I think it's probably the best gravity knife ever. They did an incredible job making a brilliant gravity knife that wasn't too gimmicky and still has a beautiful, useful blade. The newer versions actually have a lock. I didn't think I would want that, but I kind of think I want to try and upgrade to one of the ones that has a lock on it. But just a brilliantly done knife. It's all titanium. Mine is in micarta with the drop point blade, and the blade on this is a blade that you're never going to go wrong with. This thing is ridiculous sharp. I actually EDC'd this for close to 2 weeks one time just to see if you could EDC this knife. Just amazing how well they did. And it's such a simple design. It's simply a clamp and slide. Clamps it in and locks it. Clamps it in and locks it. Comes out the front. This thing, if you can get your hands on one of these, you definitely will love it. They are so fun to gimmick and play around with. It's the only knife that I truly fidget with because you're not going to have to worry about, instead of getting lock rock and stuff in it. But just beautifully done. I carry mine in a pocket slip, to tell you the truth. It does get a lot of pocket time because it is so comfortable and so good. Once it's deployed, it's locked up. This is the only lock I'm going to say that the only failure point would be you. You are the lock on this knife because you're the one holding it closed. It is probably the only failure-proof lock on the market because as long as you've got a hold of it, it's not coming unlocked. This is absolutely just one of the coolest and most well-done knives that has been put out on the market in a very long time. And I absolutely love it. And I had to put it in this list because, it is one of my favorite knives of this decade. And all these knives are from my collection. So let's move on. This is the Faram Forge Master Blaster, and I think this is probably the best knife that they did when they were still doing their mid-tech runs in-house. Now, mine is, it looks over the top and crazy. This is not how all of them look. Mine was a commissioned piece that was fully customized on request because this was a gift from some very, very good friends. But for all intents and purposes, this is the same knife that everyone else got, whether you got a maker's choice or you got one off of Blade HQ. All their knives were done exactly to the same level of quality. This has just been hand carved, but it is a beautiful, beautiful knife. This is the knife that really got me into Warncliffe style blades. Incredible blade on this. This was one of the first knives that they did that had a nice, fairly thin behind the edge profile in hand. Just incredibly comfortable. Now, this was a collaboration with Elliot and Les George. So this is a flipper and a reverse flick on it with that big aperture. The blade is just brilliant. You've got that big choil on it so you can really choke up and power through things. This has done a lot of cutting. As you can see, this is a ceramic coating on this. I don't shy away from using this, even though this is probably about a $1,600 knife, to tell you the truth. Everything on this just was beautifully done. They have some of the most comfortable pocket clips on their knives when they were doing the in-house stuff, the bent clips that Elliot would bend himself. The lockup on these are great. It uses a rolling detent, so that means that you get a nice snappy action with almost zero detent lash because it's such a big detent. It drops so far down in the blade. But that rolling detent gives you such a smooth action. The bearings on this are incredible. This thing gets a lot of pocket time, and the longer I carry it, the more it just gets its own aesthetic to it. Now mine, like I said, is very special. It is got a full copper inlay running down the middle, and then it's all been hand carved. Elliot did all this carving with this. Just a beautiful piece. I would never let this out of my collection. This is something I will have forever. Absolutely loved their in-house runs, and I think that the Master Blaster was probably the best knife that they ever did in their in-house runs. So let's move on to the next knife. And it's actually a budget knife, and it's a knife you can probably still pick up. Most of the others are hard to find. This is the Beg Letter XL by Kaiser. Now, this was a Christmas gift from a friend of mine. Jared over at Knives Knives sent me one of these for review, and I carried it and fell in love with it. This is probably my favorite large button lock knife on the market. This does such a beautiful job of competing with knives that are so much more expensive. This is a large knife. It's over 9 inches long. This thing is so comfortable in hand. The micarta on this has been done just beautifully. This brown or orange micarta. The blade on this is just incredible. The feel in hand and use in cutting, just one of the best knives I own. The button lock on it is incredible. And since it's a button lock, like I said before, fully ambidextrous. So you've got reversible thumb studs. You can reverse flick off of it. Absolutely love this knife. It spends so much time in my pocket. Flipper tab on it is just about perfect. The blade is nice and slender still, but broad enough that it does a good job of transitioning down. The 154 cm on this is so good. This is one of the best heat treats on 154 cm in production knives that I've seen. Super good. It's almost as good as the Bob Terzuola custom heat treats that I've seen on his knives. And, you know, I see a lot of Bob's knives because we're friends. Pocket clip on this. It's just a beautiful all-around package. The overall lines of the knife are gorgeous, but it is so comfortable. And for a large knife, it still carries really well. It's got a beautiful balance on it because there's been a lot of weight reduction in the scales. So it's just about a neutral balance. Just feels really good. This is one of my most carried new knives. It was a Christmas present. I absolutely love this thing. And the fact that they provided you with an extra button because the original button was silver, I put the black one on, just awesome. There you go. Beg Letter XL. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is the PMP Big Boy, and you've seen this in a lot of videos, but I have to say, I think this is probably one of the best knives I have gotten in a very long time. This was actually a gift from one of the paying members, Winston Cabretti. But this thing is done in 14C28N, and it has some of the same lines as a Shirogorov. It does. This would be something I dig. I do like Shirogorov knives. I just don't think they're worth the price. This thing is got it where it counts, guys. Super slicey, nice broad blade on this 14C28N, takes a crazy edge. The handles on this, nice and beefy, fill your hand, and they're contoured just about perfectly. The action on this is, listen to the snap. It is just so good. It is drop shut. Even though this gets carried so much, probably needs taken apart and cleaned. The lock bar access on it is perfect. The way it feels in hand when you're cutting, though, is where it really shines. This nice, bulky, beefy. They didn't have to add much material here because this is a wide handle that is contoured nicely, and the knife just drops into the cut. Nice blade shape on this with a good bit of belly, but still a lot of flat. The way that finish is held up on this is just great. This does get a lot of pocket time and has done a lot of cutting. Flipper tab on this is a very, very good flipper tab. You can see here, it's not on there like a lot of flipper tabs. This is just kind of like a roll switch, but it just slams open. And it's just kind of understated. There's not much on this knife as far as like markings and things like that. It's just pretty sterile. which on a knife like this, I dig. I think that's one of the things I like about the Chavez. You can just see the blade steel and then the logo and Big Boy. That's it. Pocket clip on this is a nice wire clip pocket clip like this, just bent wire pocket clip. And this is the knife that really got me to start enjoying those because it is so comfortable in hand and so good in pocket. Nothing catches. This is absolutely one of the best knives. If you can find one of these, they're a little harder to find. Absolutely recommend one. So let's move on to the next knife. Guys, this is that Dirk Pinkerton designed warning button. Now, this is an amazing knife. This spends so much time in my pocket. This came out last year. This year, actually. So this is a relatively new addition to the knives that I have here, but this thing is just brilliant. I absolutely love this knife. This is basically a folding box cutter. You have got a beautiful, beautiful Wharncliffe blade that comes down to an incredible behind the edge thickness and cutting profile. In hand, super comfortable. The handles on this are great. I love Dirk's designs. He always gets it right, it seems like. The really cool feature on this is the lock. So you've got the clean lines of a button lock with no lock scale, but you also don't have that addition, like I said a couple times, of the additional hardware of the button next to the pivot because it's in the pivot. And the action on it is super smooth. Since it is ambidextrous, you've got a great, awesome reversible pocket clip. Pocket clip on this is one of the best pocket clips on the market. The way this drops into the cut in hand is incredible. And the way it cuts is just amazing. You are in such a secure grip because of the curvature. It just squats down and it just is, it's a mean looking knife. But you get your thumb up here on the incredible jimping, and it just drops into that cut. It's just amazing how good this is in hand. I absolutely love this knife. This spends so much time in my pocket. That was actually blue. Let's put it that way. You can see the remnants of blue. I wore the blue ano off of this through carry and use and things like that. The blade has held up incredibly well. The heat treat on it is just about perfect. And even for a relatively slender tip, I have had no fear that I was going to crack or break this. So guys, just one of amazing. You can save 40% site-wide at Beyond EDC if you use my coupon code CrazySharp, all lowercase, all one word. So just thought I'd throw that in there. But yeah, let's move on to the next knife. So this is the Knives Inzer, and this is probably, in my opinion, the best karambit on the market. Now, I do know they re-released this, I think, under Civivi as a button lock. I don't care whichever version you want. This thing is incredible. So unlike a lot of the other karambits, most notably the Emerson Super Karambit, this is absolutely a great flipper. It's got a really good flipping action. It's got really good detent. It's done in a frame lock. The ring on this thing absolutely still will fit my finger. That's the problem I have with a lot of the karambits on the market with the ring. I just can't get my finger in there. Beautifully done in titanium and 20 CV. I'm trying to find the steel markings on it for you, but it's definitely done in 20 CV. If I can find it, it's on here somewhere. At any rate, just a great knife. The blade on it has been ground really nicely. It is a nice curvature on this, a nice claw curvature on this, deeper than a lot of other karambits on the market. Nice piercing tip. It feels good in hand as well, which is something I don't say often about karambits. You've got a big thumb ramp up here if you want to use it in this fashion for claw cutting like that. You can get in there, but in a reverse grip as well. It's just about perfect. The action on this is incredible, and it has a wave feature on it that I find to be better than any other karambit I've ever tried to snap out of pocket with a wave feature. And it's just a nice little nub that sticks up, catches the pocket beautifully, just snaps it open, and it's just an attractive knife overall. This is a knife, if you're into self-defense, you're into karambits, this is one I recommend you look up. This is absolutely, in my opinion, the best production karambit on the market, period. And if you can find one of the new ones in a button lock, you won't go wrong. Just amazing. And it looks so predatory. But there you go. The Knives Inzer. Guys, I had to refilm. This is the segment I had to refilm. You're going to hear it in the outro. So it's now well after New Year's. This is the Faram Forge Knives Alluris, and this was my 2022 knife of the year. This thing is absolutely incredible. Super slender, clamshell design, 20 CV drop point blade that is so thin behind the edge. This thing is an incredible knife. Cutting potential on this just slices through everything. Big forward finger choil. Brilliant jimping on the spine. The lines of it are gorgeous. The handles, just beautifully done. Now, I did re-stonewash mine. Pocket clip is awesome in hand. The action on this, just shy of drop shut. And it is light. This thing just disappears in your pocket. For a knife this size, it really just goes away in your pocket. Surprisingly light on this. The blade stock is relatively thin compared to a lot of their other knives. And that flat grind on it, almost a full flat, transitions down to a beautiful, beautiful cutting edge. Just look at that, just disappears behind the edge. In hand, one of the most comfortable knives you're gonna carry. I've had so many people tell me they bought this after they watched my video, just tell me that this is just one of the best knives they've ever owned. It really is one of their best designs they've ever come up with. Close, the lines on it carry through. It's beautiful. And then the lines aren't broken up by a lot of hardware because, as you can see, clamshell design, which means that all of your hardware screws are on one side and you only actually see this one. Other than your pocket clip screws, your pivot, it's just completely clean on that side. I love the idea of a clamshell design. It does make assembly and disassembly a lot easier when you maintenance your knives, and just so smooth. The action on this is just incredible. Just about drop shut. Absolutely love this knife. This is one of Elliot's best knives ever. So that's all of them, guys. Let's turn this around. We'll do some final thoughts and send you out about your day now that I've finally gotten this video done after several weeks.
There you go, guys. Those are my picks for my 10 best knives that are in my collection that have been released in the last decade. And they're all awesome knives. And the reason it took over a month was I had a bad file. And every time I would try to edit this video and then save it, I got an error. So I had to go back through and test each individual file. So it took a long time, and I had to do that basically when I was supposed to be spending time with my family and figure out which file was in error and then refilm it, which was the last one. And I absolutely removed one knife from that video. It was a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, because in retrospect, I looked at it, that knife came out over a decade ago. So there you go, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. You don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Tell me why. I've got a membership that you can join. Bunch of stuff there. Lots of different benefits. Check that out. I have built a public Discord for you guys. You can go check that out. It says join the community. I have got sponsors. I don't know if I threw a sponsor ad in this one. I'm not sure yet. I haven't edited it, but I probably did. But I've got sponsors. Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail actually have discounts built into their links down below. I've got affiliate links at most of the major vendors. I've got an Amazon store that you should check out. Take that, pin it to your browser, use it for any Amazon shopping you want to do. The affiliate links and the Amazon store, they don't cost you anything extra at checkout, just supports the channel. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.